everybody. This is Dr. Amy Banter, and I'm Eric Banter. And today we're doing a podcast on new beginnings. So we're excited to kind of share with you a little bit more about why we picked this, new beginnings. How's that appropriate this week for us?
That's been our motto all summer, I think. We've had a lot of transition and new beginnings from our children
Well, we have.
to us starting our new business and now helping patients with their new journeys and new beginnings. And
Yeah, new beginnings of bringing people on board, new beginnings in helping them to maybe realize this new lifestyle.
almost a
and
new
changes.
model or idea of what healthcare, what they should expect from
Oh, I like
healthcare,
that.
what healthcare is about, and
There's a good
what it can
opportunity
be.
there, I think. Everybody would probably shake their head on that one. And what that's going to look like for the future. I mean, I think that's what we're excited about, right? Is that we see this as an opportunity to show people what this could look like and where it would go from here. And you've
This
had this
week's
vision
been-
for a long time.
This week's been fun. We've had some personal fun with our niece coming in town.
Right.
And she's getting ready to get married.
Oh
we
my
had
gosh.
a bridal shower for her, so
We're
that's
less
her
than a
new
month,
beginnings
right?
coming up. And we're going to be taking Lucy to college tomorrow to start her new beginning at IU. Jacob.
Now, just so everyone
yes,
knows, we're
yes.
a heavy Purdue family. And so, but I mean, IU's just an amazing school.
It is,
Let's just
it
be
is.
honest.
New journeys, new adventures, and new
Bioscience ranked
beginnings.
higher at IU than Purdue. So
she's
that's
going to be
good.
doing that. And Jacob graduated from Purdue and starting
Yes,
his new
and
beginning, our
he's
videographer.
helping us with all these videos. So if you like these videos, definitely give him a thumbs up there.
And then Lucas, our oldest,
Louisville.
starting his new adventure in Louisville, MedPeds residency, and he's surviving 6 weeks in.
He's not sleeping, is what we know.
He's not following the sleep pillar well, but hopefully he'll be able to catch up.
Surviving. Is
the
that
week
a
of
pillar?
the wedding.
Is that a new pillar we need to add in there as Americans? Are you surviving?
It's definitely not a
We
pillar
do a good
of
job. I think we
health.
all do a good job of that, but at the cost of a lot of things that we're going to get into today, right? And how the cells are impacted by stress. I know you're going to talk more about that here in a little bit, but new beginnings. Yeah, we're so excited.
Well, and really the whole thing about new beginnings is also we kind of have this idea about, oh, well, it's too late, or what's done is done, the damage that's done. And our model definitely is very heavy into proactive, preventative approaches to health, but it's never too late. Every day is a new beginning to make an impact on your health, to make new choices, to actually, as we're going to be talking about, make some changes down at a cellular level that can reverse some of the disease that's going on, that can rebalance things, that can be preventative, but also just to reset. We regenerate ourselves all the time. What is it? Every 7 years they say, literally
It's
our
a lot.
whole body has regenerated the cells.
There's a lot
We
going
have a lot
on
of cell turnover.
within this very
and
complex
it is.
organism in this world. But I think one of the things that I know we've challenged ourselves with is if we're asking people to balance their life, and here we've got all these new beginnings, all these transitions that are going on in our life right now, from a new business to kids kind of starting their thing and still being connected with that. But amidst all that busyness, I know we're charging ourselves with, practicing what we preach to people. And so amidst all that, we're still trying to reduce our stress, manage the stress, right? Because, I mean, starting a new business, it can be a little stressful. There's a lot of moving parts, for
Pausing, taking time out to breathe. It's been something we've had to
sure.
actually
And so
remind
things might
ourselves
change, right?
of.
We talked about that, right? I like to get up in the morning and when everything's quiet and find my little meditative state, right? And that's changed a little bit because I notice we're going to bed a little bit later. Some days I'm not getting up in the morning, but I'm finding ways of doing it then during the day. So I think we would challenge everybody with, it might not be perfect. Don't look for it to be perfect, but as we start to impress upon people the importance of these 4 pillars, And then the challenge is always, how do we do it, right? And how do we make it possible amidst whatever is
Make
going
it doable.
on in life? And I think that's what we've been helping people with through the coaching and both of us, right? Helping them with that. So if you get down into the cell, this is where it gets exciting for this podcast today, is all this information that I know you know on what is happening in the body that, they start to call aging. So what's happening in the body when someone says, oh yeah, you're aging?
Well, and aging is inevitable. If we have
But the rate, I know you talk about the rate of
youth,
aging.
I would be a millionaire, wouldn't I? But the rate that our cells age and the degree of aging is something we can control. A lady named Elizabeth Blackburn actually discovered, she got a Nobel Prize for discovering the telomeres and the telomerase that affects aging. And so people probably have heard, if they've ever heard our talks, they've heard us talk about these telomeres. Well, telomeres, if you look at a chromosome, on the very tip, there is this little protective tip on the very end of your chromosome called your telomere. And I liken it to the little plastic tip on a shoestring.
I like this analogy.
If you have, naturally as we age, our telomeres are going to shorten. That's everyone. The rate at which they age, as you mentioned, is something that we can impact. That's what Elizabeth Blackburn was able to prove and got her Nobel Prize for.
Was it even reversed?
There
I think
are,
you said.
even we can actually lengthen those telomeres. So if you go back and think about it, that little plastic tip, if it gets too short or it frays, then the shoestring starts unraveling and the shoestring can't do its job. Same thing happens with our chromosomes and our DNA. And so we know that there are a lot of things we can do, lifestyle choices we can make, anything from the food we eat, the stress that we're living, our genetics, choosing to smoke or not to smoke, activity, exercise, sleep, all of the pillars that we chose for our coaching.
Did you just say breathe, eat, move, sleep?
I did say breathe, eat, move, sleep.
Exactly.
The whole base of our coaching pillars is based on the science that we know is going to impact your telomeres and help you in a cellular level. It's interesting, things like chronic conditions and things that lead to premature aging and premature death, especially in our society, heart disease, cancers, all of those all relate back to effects on our telomeres as well. And so again, our point in our role through our coaching is really to help walk people through those pillars and meet you where you are. Everybody is at a different place, and sometimes at different times in our life we're at different places. We have 3 phases in each of our coaching pillars, and the idea is we want to move everyone into that optimal phase, but we're not always we have phase 1, 2, and 3. We're not always living in phase 3 ourselves in every pillar. Like you said, this weekend.
We know what it should look like.
It's hard. Yes.
It's helpful.
We got a little veered off.
Which is where
and
we
had
talk
to
about, let's get people to this mini
ourselves.
scientist state so that they know what we know. And I think what excites me so many times is what you're able to do to be objective with some of the testing that you can do, from the genetic testing to the to the NutriVal stuff and I know, one of our notes here was 500 genes are impacted by our lifestyle, over probably 500. And now this is where you get into the epigenetic stuff, that they're little switches. They can be turned on and off just based off of the environment.
Those pillars,
right? And this is where we get excited because we want people to understand how you can turn these things on and off just by how you live your life.
And what you're talking about with those switches, we can turn them on in a favorable manner. We can turn on some cancer-fighting genes, and we've shown regression of plaque even. Everybody thinks once you have plaque, and there are lifestyle changes that we can make that they've shown can actually regress that plaque that's already depositing in arteries. There are also lifestyle choices that we can make that can negatively impact and actually turn on cancer-causing genes or inflammation genes and things. So that's what we want to help walk through and keep talking about here on this podcast.
Well, the new beginnings and looking at this cell regeneration, you want to kind of walk through the lifespan of some of these cells because it's kind of refreshing to know, like you started earlier saying, every 7 years we're like a completely new person, like a new physical body. So how could you argue that, oh yeah, our lifestyle doesn't impact that? It does.
It does. I think it's neat too, if you, without getting too caught up into science, but think about there's something called senescence of a cell. So our cells are always turning over and replicating, and we're forming new cells. Like our eye, in one day, that cornea regenerates.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. Our stomach and our intestinal lining every 5 days. Skin 2 to 4 weeks. Hair varies. It can be 3 to 6 years. Our liver.
So, and that for me as well?
Well, we might have to work on that. You shave it too. We'll blame it on the shaving. Our liver, it's every 150 to 500 days again, but that's pretty neat. We can literally, that liver can regenerate and regrow like no other organ. And our bones are actually constantly turning over every 10 years. They take a little longer, but every 10 years there's a full renewal. Now, that being said, there is something, so think back to those telomeres. As we see shortening of those telomeres, if it gets so short and we disrupt that chromosome and that DNA, then it goes into a senescent cell. That it's still living, but it can't keep replicating and duplicating. And so senescence is something that we want to also delay, because then the aging, as we age, we can slow down that rate, but eventually you'll get these senescent cells, and then you are at a point of no return. We can't reverse this. So the things that we talk about with our coaching are things that really get down into a cellular level to help lengthen or maybe reverse some of that shortening that is going on. There's actually a test you can do. You can measure your telomere age. I keep saying we're going to do that, and we are.
That'd be a good test to see who's younger.
Have to. And so it's kind of our genetic age over our biological age. And so you can actually order those and measure it, which would be fascinating for us to see. So yeah.
And your sister was pretty young.
My sister, yes, she showed that. Oh my gosh, yeah, I forget how many years younger her telomere age was than her biological age. So, yeah. So onward to talking a little more deep dive into those pillars, why we chose the 4 pillars.
Right.
The breathe, the eat, the move, the sleep.
So talk to us about, from an anatomy standpoint, the stress hormone and its effect. So we got the adrenal glands, and so how does that, so this gets released, right? So we are, if a tiger came in this room, we're all in a stress response. So what happens to the body at that point? Chemicals get dumped in. This is the adrenal glands.
Fight or flight, right?
Yeah,
so we, under a stressful event, obviously if a tiger's running at me, you want everything dumped in there to get you to fight
You
and
either
run.
die or live, right? So it's dumping everything. This is not, this is a very costly dump.
It's a primitive response that was meant to just be released occasionally under times that you needed to eat or you needed to survive, right? But Americans, every single day, and unfortunately way too many hours a day, we are under constant stress, and we are constantly fighting, and in our mind, our body, telling our body to be prepared, to be ready, to be on, and we don't pause and breathe. And the problem is those stress hormones that are being dumped by your adrenal glands and all of that, they really send these signals that stress our cells that then impact our telomeres and can actually prematurely shorten those cells. This is really interesting too, perceived stress. So we could have the exact same stress going on. And to you, you're like, okay, whatever, we'll deal. And if I'm all stressed out about it, my perceived stress will make my telomeres shorten quicker.
Well, think about this. Before we go into, maybe it's a presentation. We've done this enough to where we don't really get too stressed out for this stuff. I think we kind of enjoy it a little bit. But I mean, if you are stressed and you're like, hey, I've got to do a presentation, there are techniques I know in our coaching that we share with people to help them to tip themselves back into a parasympathetic mode. So to your point, one, as a mini scientist, recognizing what does that look like And then once you know you're there, how do you get out of it as quick as possible? Because we don't want to stay there.
Right.
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 And you, like you said, it's a perceived. It's the brain. It's
It
like,
is. It is.
okay, maybe what if this? What if that? Right. And a lot of it's anxiety. Anxiety is always the future. So what if and what if can kind of drive us and keep us there, which is not good.
Well, we spend a lot of time worrying and ruminating, being anxious about the future and trying to anticipate things we can't control. And this Elizabeth Blackburn that I was talking about, some of her studies, she took premenopausal women between the ages of 20s and their 40s, and those who had high perceived stress scales aged 10 times faster when she looked at their telomeres. So again, and this is a busy time of life. Women are, raising their families and trying to get their careers going and things like that. And I think there's a lot of extra pressure we put on ourselves to create more stress than is necessary.
Yeah, and I think we're really big on the breathe pillar. So we've heard all kinds of things from meditation and mindfulness and all this stuff. All that means is be in the moment, right? If you can get in this moment, I mean, for us right now, there's no lion in here. I mean, whatever we create is a perceived stress.
Roof over our
and then from this moment, if we go into the future, that is going to be more of kind of an anxiety. And then if the mind wants to go into the past and think of, why did this happen? Then that can lead to depression. And this is where meditation, mindfulness, it's all about bringing you right here, right now. And if we can get into that practice, I mean, that's definitely helping us. I know from the genetic marker, you got genetic markers that, you track
measure
with a lot of this stuff that kind of helps with, I know they say the prefrontal cortex thickens. The more we're able to stay in these states of, I'm sure it's parasympathetic mode, calm digestive healing mode. The amygdala is also less activated.
Your emotional control center.
Yeah. And that's the one that sends off all the bells and whistles.
It is.
So if it's
the
always,
stress response is always
what around the corner, what's going to happen around the corner, then it gets tricked into thinking that there's an emotional response that leads to a chemical dump, and then the chemical dump, they say, once that happens, full-on sympathetic response, the IQ drops in half because you don't need it, right? You're just in reaction mode. And they say it can stay there for up to 4 hours. So I mean, from a corporate wellness perspective, I would think you would want all of your employees to do some kind of mindfulness meditation every day, right? To get their brains as smart as possible. Why not? Why would we not do that?
And people, it's not complicated, which is what we, again, go back to our doable. I think it gets overwhelming. People are like, I don't know how to meditate. I don't know how to be mindful, or I don't know how to still my mind. And it takes practice.
Right.
You're so experienced in this, and I think realizing that we start people with 2 minutes a day, and just to see the shift that happens in their health and their
we're making people conscious, less reactive. So you move from a reactive mind into a conscious mind. That's it. That's all it is.
Which is why we also start, the breathe pillar to us is the base. It's the primary pillar that we have to master, because the eat, the move, the sleep, they really all build upon that. You can't be conscious about your eating or your decisions if you can't first master just being present, slowing down, pausing.
And it's a big one, but think of the eat one. So if everything we eat creates this most complex instrument known in this world, for sure, right? This is the most complex thing going on the planet, right? And it starts with the stuff we put in our mouth, right? To create our DNA, our blueprint creates every aspect of this physical body. It's just amazing.
Looking at
it amazes
food as
me.
information, I think obviously food is social and we enjoy it, and food is nourishment. It's information. It talks to our DNA. It talks to our chromosomes. The choices we make in our diet and nutrition really affect the telomere length.
Right.
Whole foods, not getting away from the processed and the sugar. And this is not a fad. This isn't a diet that we help, this pillar that we walk people through. It's really a journey that it's a lifestyle shift. We want this to become part of their lifestyle. And again, making this doable, choosing whole foods. If you think about a plate, I think instead of what you shouldn't eat, it's like filling it with more of the things we should have, like 7 to 9 servings of vegetables and fruit. Really looking at your macronutrients and your omegas and your proteins
Always
and your
about
fiber.
adding more is always better.
Because all of those are what it takes to lengthen your telomeres.
Right.
And actually having a healthy BMI, because unfortunately obesity has become an epidemic in our society, and obesity alone shortens your telomeres, creates inflammation, creates oxidative stress, pushes our cells into senescence, and ages us prematurely.
And let's get the misnomer clear. It's 80% what you put in your mouth and 20% exercise that causes you to lose weight. So many people, oh yeah, I'm hitting the gym again, you know, and what you're going to argue is that you need a strong, healthy heart. You need a metabolism that's active, right? And we're saying a minimum of 14 minutes of target heart rate for healthy people, right, every day.
For lengthen, and we know that's that again, back to that
It's
move
the
pillar.
reason why we have it in there.
14 minutes a day
For your telomeres.
at target heart rate to lengthen those telomeres. And so again, it seems so overwhelming, and that's a cumulative. You could do half hour every other day and get those benefits, but it's really focusing on consistency.
Well, and as a coach, I argue every day.
I hear you. I do hear you.
You know, the accumulative stuff, going to the gym for 2 hours a week is a big difference.
That's true. It is.
Than 14 minutes every day.
There's data proving
it's a big,
that.
big difference.
That's true. You can't just go once a week for 3 hours
and I checked it
fix
off.
that. You are true. That is absolutely 100% correct. But you know, and sometimes we'll be sitting there, we get home or watch it. Last night, we didn't feel like it. It was so good. After dinner, you were like, come on, we're going to do this. We did our video and we did our ab work and we got our heart rate up for about 15 minutes with our daughter, and it was great.
You know, at the end of it,
and
I know all of us that have done this before, we never regret it after we do it. It's never like, oh, darn it, why did I do that? Never. Doesn't happen. But it's getting there.
In between, you know, commercials, go out and do a walk. If you have 5 minutes now, and then you have 10 minutes later in the day, it's okay to spread it out, even if you're getting that heart rate up each time.
And the sleep's a big deal. I know you're saying 7 to 9, and I have really taken a hold of that over the last year. It's made a big difference for how this thing works for me. Works a lot better for me when I sleep.
It's crucial. If you get under 7 hours
I've been trying to get closer to 8.
It affects you.
Every night.
All of us.
And it's made a big, big difference. Like a very big difference. I think the other thing that we were wanting to make a note on, and with this new beginnings, right? And so many times we've always made these New Year resolutions. And I think it was a Forbes article that was saying 80% of the people that do a New Year's resolution by February have already not done it, right? And so I think the other reason why we recognize the importance for the coaching component, that what drives, you know, the success is the consciousness, being conscious of the change, having some accountability, and getting rid of the fact that it's scary if I might fail. And so you've said this over and over again, just start new every day, right? Don't even care. If you felt like you failed yesterday, it doesn't even matter now. Just begin today, and like you always say, you get up, you wake up,
you breathe,
right? You breathe,
you eat, you move, you sleep,
right? And you do it again.
You begin again.
And so every day we get a new beginning. Every day.
We do.
And I think that's so important. You know, that we're not powerless. That we have choices.
That's really the takeaway message. We have so many choices, and we have some genetic predispositions. We have some circumstances in life. We have choices we've made in the past, and we have a choice now to choose some new habits, some new lifestyles, some new nutritional ideas. And
don't let it be scary.
Let it
be exciting.
Make it fun. And that's what we want to do is, I think the biggest excitement for us to merge the coaching with medicine is that we want to be a resource that we can show people how to make this doable, how to make this fun, and personalize it.
And I got to highlight that this isn't just normal medicine. This is like new beginning medicine, I think. Right? I mean, I would love to say in 10 years, everyone is practicing like you are. right? I mean, you've taken your 26 years as a family medicine doctor, and I know out of the gate you were complementary or alternative, and then the functional medicine stuff come in, which allowed you to be much more objective. That is what really excites me about what you do as a doctor. And the coaching is also very important because it helps us to create the change. It helps us to make the new beginning doable, I think, as well. But really, the special sauce is what you're doing in this ability to see the complex body as objectively as possible and get down to a root cause for what's really going on with people.
Not just the what is going on, but the why.
But the why.
And then helping people be these mini scientists to help them figure out for
And
themselves.
have fun.
The why and the how.
Right? Yeah.
It's fun.
Anything else on your new beginning?
I just
Any
think
other last words?
it's exciting.
It's so
New
exciting.
beginnings are
And we'd love to
exciting.
be a part of your new beginning. So check us out online, OPT2LIV.com, OPT, the number 2, LIV.com. We'd love to be a part of your journey of optimal living. See you soon.